Good evening to a regular, and welcome to a regular City Council meeting. Tonight is December 5th. It is 6 p.m. I'd like to welcome those here in the audience and those viewing us on Channel 10. I'll call the meeting to order, and I'm going to change and start the meeting inviting you to stand and join me first in the pledge, and we'll follow that with an invocation led by Pastor David Lura, who is the Navy League chaplain, and we'll begin our meeting then after that. Please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
A moment of personal privilege. Most people know that the Psalms in the Hebrew portion of the Bible, for what Christians call the Old Testament, are poetry, really, and that they are prayers. And so this evening's prayer is going to be in poetry form. Everybody's heard of Santa Claus, but not everybody knows that there was a Catholic bishop by the name of Nicholas, from which the legend of Santa Claus has likely come. Bishop Nicholas specialized in caring for children. And so tonight's prayer is on the eve of St. Nicholas Day, for he died on the 6th of December, and many of us pay tribute to Bishop Nicholas. I invite you to pause with me as I, in poetic form, pray. 'Twas the night before St. Nicholas Day in Oak Harbor's City Hall. The City Council was meeting for the betterment of all. The mayor was ready, and council members too, to take up the agenda for me and for you. They said the Pledge of Allegiance toward the flag of our land and turned to the chaplain, who had a prayer in his hand. Great God in the heavens, we call upon thee to bless this great country, the land of the free. To bless this great city and all the people therein, to free us from sorrows and the burden of sin. Make us one with each other and help those in need. Help us work hard together as more than a good deed. Help us to listen, to dig deeper, and show lots of care for the health of our city, the trees, the land, the water, and the air. We thank you for the freedom to speak and to spar that will generate ideas drawn from near and afar. And we offer our thanks for the blessings you give. You've made this part of your creation a great place to live. On behalf of those gathered for this meeting tonight, I ask for your grace in a portion just right, so that when all else is said and the meeting has begun, we can echo the words of Tiny Tim by saying, God bless us, everyone. Amen. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Pastor Lura.
You almost want to applause after that.
Always very entertaining. Thank you. So we have an introduction I think we're going to do at this time. I'm going to turn the mic to Dr. Merriman.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. I wanted to introduce a new person we have at the dais tonight. We have Carla Brown, who's joining us as our new city clerk. And she started working this week. She's been busy training and going through HR and getting everything ready. And she, based on her background and experience, she's more than capable of sitting up at the dais with you and recording our minutes and working with City Council. Carla comes here from Bahrain with her husband Terry and 3 kids, and they've settled into Oak Harbor here. A little bit of a change from Bahrain to our weather here. But we'd like to really welcome Carla and look forward to working with her.
Welcome, Carla. Okay, I've already done the call to order. First, I think we have one council member missing. So was there a motion to, yes.
I move we excuse Councilmember Campbell.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilor Mund, second by Councilor Servadius to excuse Councilmember Jim Campbell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I have one change for the agenda that I would like to make. I think what we'll do under presentations is ask our Scout Troop number 59 to come ahead of the Impaired impact presentation, and then we'll follow it with that. So anyone else got any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll just move forward. So we are under presentations, and at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our Oak Harbor Boy Scout Troop number 59 and ask them to come forward at this time. I understand that they're here tonight with their Scoutmaster, Dan Haig. Hope that's pronounced right.
Hello. Sorry. My name is Robert Overly, and I'm the Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 4059. And we are here tonight to present this wreath to the city of Oak Harbor. Troop 4059 is the oldest troop in Oak Harbor. Wreath making is our annual fundraiser, and it has been for many years. It is our pleasure to present this wreath to you. That's it.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask council to stand and come around and thank the scouts, and we'll get a picture or two at that time.
Ben's emceeing it, so.
Thank you again to the Oak Harbor Boy Scout Troop, number 4059. Our annual wreath. We'll get, it's very beautiful. We'll display that here at City Hall. Okay, well, we have one more presentation this evening, and tonight's will be the director of the Island County IDIPIC, the Impaired Driving Impact Panel of Island County. And tonight's presentation is by their director, Mike Diamanti. Mike, good to see you back.
Good evening. It's always a pleasure to come and address the Oak Harbor City Council. Thank you all for being here and the great work that you do. This is a festive time of year, and it's also a time for a reminder to be safe and take care of yourself and your loved ones. The Impaired Driving Impact Panel of Island County was established in the year 2000. Our mission is to deter driving under the influence and underage drinking in our communities through education and awareness. IDIPIC consists of a volunteer board of directors, panel speakers and helpers, partners in prevention, which are donors, and 2 part-time staff members, myself and Alice Bedolf. We were formed in 2000 thanks to the concern and dedication of police officers, judges, attorneys, court workers, driving instructors, probation officers, attorneys, military personnel, medical personnel, safety activists, and people who had been affected by impaired drivers. Our mission statement says that we hope to reduce driving under the influence and underage drinking through education and awareness. We accomplish the education and awareness piece by hosting 3 impact panels per month and by going into middle school classrooms with our alcohol and drug prevention information. During 2017, we reached 326 driver's education students, 321 parents, 180 NAS Whidbey personnel, and 137 offenders or clients. Some of the offenders come from other jurisdictions besides Island County, but at least 70% are from Whidbey or Camano. The number of impaired drivers, alcohol, drugs, or combinations, on the road in 2017 was certainly more than the 96 in Island County who were caught. We need to reduce that number by changing everyone's awareness about the issues, and we can change awareness through conversations among family and friends. You cannot protect yourself from impaired drivers. They have already made alcohol and drug-related choices that could injure or take lives. But you individually can make a choice to not drive impaired. You can make a choice to not drive even after only 1 drink. Your smart decisions can reduce the number of impaired drivers populating our roads, and you and your family and friends can help make Island County safer. The second piece to raising awareness is by going into all the Island County middle school classrooms to present factual information to students about drugs and alcohol. In 2016, we presented to 26 classrooms for a total of 515 students. In 2017, we have presented to 32 classrooms and a total of 695 students. These children are eager to learn, and they may help reduce the numbers of impaired drivers by the time they attend our impact panels as driver's education students. The final piece of our mission comes from the dedication of our volunteers and the financial support we receive from individuals, businesses, and organizations. Island County and the City of Oak Harbor support us through yearly grants. Island Thrift and State Farm Insurance provide large donations. You can view all of our donors on our website and our Facebook page. All of us connected with IDIPIC wish you and yours a safe and joyous holiday season. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. I actually attended one of their presentations early on when I joined City Council. It was not because the judge required me to go, but it was very educational. I would invite the rest of you on council, if you have not done that, I would suggest that you might find it interesting. They do a really nice job. Okay, we're going to move on to citizen comment period. And at this time, citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. To ensure comments are properly recorded, please state your name clearly into the microphone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes to ensure all citizens have sufficient time to speak. And I see that Laura Reniger is here, and I'd invite Laura to come.
Good evening. My name is Laura Reniger from the Oak Harbor Gary Oak Society. I wanted to take a few minutes to share the strides our group made in 2017. First, we would like to extend our thanks to the City of Oak Harbor, especially the Parks Department and the Fire Department, for partnering with us to continue to care for and conserve our community's namesake oak. This year, we held informational booths at the Master Gardener's Workshop in February, Holland Happening in April, Navy Open House in June, and Music Fest in September. We took the post office garden from a weed-choked site to a well-planned example of a living Gary Oak ecosystem that the public can enjoy. We nurtured multiple tree sites and the post office garden throughout the extreme drought summer. Through a work party, we built wooden cages to protect the relocated post office Gary Oak saplings near the marina. We conducted our first ever event with elementary students planting acorns in Smith Park. We built relationships with other Gary Oak groups such as San Juan County Land Bank, Friends of Uplands Park and Parks Department of Oak Bay, BC, and we continued to strengthen relationships with local stakeholders such as Pacific Rim Institute and Whidbey Conservation District. We refined our planting process and increased our knowledge about the tree's drought tolerance and parasites related to Gary Oaks, such as gall wasp. We conducted mapping and analysis of existing Gary Oak fragments in Oak Harbor and how they compare to the region. We made a presentation to the Midway School horticulture class in conjunction with the Arbor Day planting of Gary Oaks. We also presented to people on South Whidbey affiliated with the Sound Waters Group. Through our website, we have answered questions posed by the public relating to Gary Oak seedlings, saplings, acorns, acorn propagation, and oak pruning. These inquiries have come from Coopville, California, Anacortes, Bainbridge Island, Freeland, Oak Harbor, Seattle, and Sequim. Lastly, volunteer hours from the group so far in 2017 come to over 836 hours. If you would like to join our meetings or become a member, we meet once a month on the second Tuesday evening of the month. Meeting notices are published on our website, www.ohgaryoaksociety.org. We look forward to future work to promote and conserve the Gary Oaks in Oak Harbor for their significant ecological value and living heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone else? Citizen comment period. Like to? Okay. Seeing none, we will then at this time move on to the consent agenda, item number 4 on our agenda. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to pull out 4D.
Okay, 4D. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll just, at this time, we'll approve all items, show all items to be approved. That would be A through I with the exception of 4D. And we'll turn that back to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This application for taxi license, name is Leaf driver Carlton Mitchell. On the agenda bill on page 33, it shows that the police department has finished investigation and the taxi driver application background has already been checked and approved. On the application itself, on page 36, on section 2 of that application form, the background check was checked yes by the applicant on operation. Let's see. Section 2, operators of vehicles, the background check was check yes. And Section 4, the vehicle inspected by police department, it says no. And on Section 7, there's no signature of the police chief or designated representative from the police department. I just want to make sure that approving this taxi license application, that it will provide safe for the commuting public.
I think
Was
that's
the license approved
let's.
by the police department?
I'm going to turn it to Dr. Merriman.
Sure. I believe this form was probably uploaded to our Gen D system to get the packet out, but since the time it's been uploaded, the police have finished those parts and signed off on that. Usually we try to get the final copy in here, but this one got through without the last steps being incorporated on that. So what I can do is get the final one, a copy made, and put it in each of your council boxes so you have that final copy for your records.
So the police department has already approved background check and the vehicle has been inspected.
That's correct.
Thank you, Dr. Merriman.
Great,
That's all I have.
great, okay, good catch.
And I would like to make a motion
Okay,
to approve consent agenda 4D.
Second.
okay, so we've got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Pagao, second by Councilor Wassinger, to approve consent agenda item 4D. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes, and the rest have been approved just by the process. So we'll move on to mayor comments, item number 5 on our agenda. I attended the tree lighting this last weekend and got to ride with Santa Claus from the marina down to downtown. And if you haven't been through town, you'll see that beautiful tree down there. We had a decent turnout in spite of some pretty rainy weather for the evening, but Santa was there with a long line of family and children to greet. And it was a nice evening. So thanks to the Oak Harbor Main Street, I know that that organization was pretty much in charge. So nice job. I'd also like to recognize National Impaired Driving Prevention Month. The holiday season between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day is one of the deadliest and most dangerous times on America's roadways due to an increase in impaired driving. Since 1981, every president of the United States has demonstrated the commitment to preventing impaired driving by proclaiming December as National Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month, or more recently, National Impaired Driving Prevention Month. So it was timely to listen to Mike tonight, and thanks again for what you do. And that concludes my comments, so we'll go to the council now. Councilor Munns?
Thank you. As far as the Christmas theme, I want to say thank you to the Oak Harbor Yacht Club for sponsoring the lighted boat parade. Left the docks around 4 o'clock, just as it was getting dark, went down to Coopville, did a couple loops, and then the boats came back. There were 10. So it always is very festive. If you go down on Pioneer Way and a little bit farther closer to the marina, you can see many of the boats have timers, and so they light up at night. Also want to say thank you to Help House. They fed 1,856 people for their Thanksgiving baskets. If anyone is thinking they can always use more food or cash, they can take $5 and really stretch it. So please remember that everyone deserves a nice dinner in the holidays, and this goes farther than that. This feeds them for a couple of weeks, each bag of food. And welcome home gray wolves. They made it home in time for Christmas. And there was a cute little baby that was born like the day before he left on cruise that's now wearing a little snowman outfit. So it was very cute to see them united, everyone in the squadron home for Christmas. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, it looks like, thank you, council. I should have mentioned on the tree lighting, the Buccaneer group that is connected to the yacht club actually It was their ship that I was riding on with Santa Claus. So thanks to the Buccaneers and also the fire department for being there and escorting us. So thanks to all the staff that worked that evening. It was a big turnout. Okay, city administrator comments. Dr. Merriman?
Great, thank you. Just a couple of quick comments tonight. One, I'll probably just echo the comments about the Christmas tree lighting. That was a really good event, a lot of different things. It's a lot of fun. That event's really growing each year, it seems like. And thanks to all the parties that have been mentioned, and thanks to city staff as well. A lot of times behind the scenes, we're putting barricades up and doing all the different things that go on, and thank you to everybody that takes their time to do that. Meetings for the rest of this year, actually. For December, we have our next council meeting on the 19th. We have on the calendar the workshop for the 20th, and we're looking right now to see what items we need to use to fill up that workshop meeting. And then we'll be into 2018 before we know it. And that'll wrap us up for the year, but not for this evening. I have Brett for the wastewater treatment plant.
Good evening. It's time for our clean water facility project update. It's been pretty interesting. The buildings in our facility are starting to take shape. We are seeing roofs going up and walls going up, and they're actually looking like buildings. This is actually the maintenance building on the left, the black building, which is our CMU building with got its roof on. That's where we do a lot of repairs, and as the new equipment comes up, that's our work area. The wood frame construction to the right is actually our administration building, and that's where the staff will be based out of, and that's also where our computer networks will be working out of too. That's a kind of interesting building because we do have the interpretive center in that building, and you can't see it right now because we have to frame that in actually 2 boxes because of the different roof types. So they're going to do the west side of it first and get it all closed up, and then go to the other side. So it's actually a 2-step process. But that's coming together quite nicely, and once we got moving on the wood framing, they're going at it pretty fast. Recent activities on the design, we have seen, of course, the 90% design documents. We are anticipating 100% documents on the 22nd. And from that, we are actually preparing what we call GMP number 13 bid packages, and we're bidding those packages in early January. We are continuing work on the SCADA software development, which is getting kind of interesting because we have about 20 vendor packages that our SCADA system has to talk to. So all those manufacturers are coordinating with us. So that's kind of interesting because each one's a little different. And when we did get some news today is our first truckload of Harslev biosolids dryer is actually on the dock in Tacoma. So we'll be seeing about 30 truckloads of that showing up here pretty soon. So we'll be starting to store that actually on top of our pile. Concrete, we continue to place concrete. It's not impressive because it's all small little things right now. We are ahead of schedule and below our labor estimates, but we're doing a lot of intricate stuff right now. So if we get 10 yards a week, we're doing pretty good. We are continuing to backfill around structures, and we're going to start to see that fill up. GMP's number 9, 11, the mechanical electrical is a lot of our work, and a lot of the work in terms of the we call non-process buildings going on right now, a lot of the architectural type specialties. We are been continuing about 115 workers on site. We'll see that level effort moving on through the first of the year. It'll start to taper down after middle of January. And like I said, the self-perform work is ongoing, and the masons are going to town. We're going to start this week, actually start some of the decorative bricking, so you'll start seeing that coming up. So we'll start going from the black buildings. Unfortunately, we did find human remains last week. We were able to not have any construction impacts and resolve it very quickly, but it's always an ongoing excitement. But our MOA is doing its job. Funding, we are in the process of processing our $29 million SRF loan. That's in administrative right now, so hopefully that'll be coming to us pretty quickly. And we are pursuing Windjammer funding opportunities. We're still planning on having a special workshop. It'll probably be after the first of the year now. We haven't set up a time, but hopefully we'll be contacting you pretty soon to get something. I've been promising that for a couple sessions, but it's just been trying to get everything lined up. Schedule-wise, we're doing very good. After the electrical stuff, I just met with Brian Shirley this morning, and we're still right on. So we're starting to do training, starting to talk about startup activities. I got PSC out there to start powering it up in late February. So a lot of things coming together. Of course, you can always get project information at oakharborcleanwater.org. You can call us at 914-7000 or our work extensions. Email us at treatmentplant@oakharbor.org. And our next open house is December 11th. Questions?
Any questions? Yes, Councilor Allenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Brett, reconfirm the arrival date of the switchgear.
Switchgear is showing up in the second week of February. So
The first or the second week of
we
February?
haven't got, it's any time in that week time frame, but it's pretty much on schedule. So that you missed the last session, but I was able to announce that we're back on track with that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Brett. Nice job. Okay, we will move to item number 6. We have 6A is ordinance number 1816, adopting the 2017 comprehensive plan amendments. And I see we have our senior planner, Kat Kamak. Kat?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Kat Kamak, senior planner, here to present the 2017 annual amendments to the comprehensive plan. I'm usually here every year singing the same song, so I'll go through a short presentation on the process that we go through with our annual amendments, and then touch on what amendments we're recommending for adoption this year. So the process every year begins in October. We have a notice out to the public asking if the public has any suggestions for amendments. We discuss topics with the Planning Commission and the City Council as we put the preliminary docket together between December and February. The Planning Commission holds a public hearing on the preliminary docket in January, and the City Council gets to adopt it in March. For the 2017 amendments, the docket was approved in the first meeting in April. We had a slight delay there. But that didn't actually impact any of the schedules. So between April and September, we go through and do most of the analysis. Some projects are small enough that they could be done in a year. Sometimes projects are larger and they are continued over to the next year. So this year we do have some that are continuing on to next year, and we have some that are moving forward, and I'll touch on those in a little bit. Once we get into August and September, we have some requirements for the process. We have to notify the Department of Commerce. We have to do a CEPA determination. They have 30 to 60-day wait periods for public comment, so we got to use the time efficiently to incorporate that. So we do that in August and September, and then we do a determination in October, and by November we're into the public hearings, and the City Council adopts the adoption in December. So that's the process we go through every year. So for the 2017 amendments, we had the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space update to the plan. We opened up the economic development element. We had a growth area resizing. We had the capital improvements plan 2018 to 2023. We do that annually. And we also had critical area maps to be added to the environment element. So the amendments that are moving forward this year is the capital improvements plan, the critical area maps, and the environmental element, and an addition of the policy, a policy to the economic development element. And I'll go through these in a little bit of detail. So the capital improvements plan, we update them every year. We don't have to, but we do every year. We take a look at them. We look at the revenues. We look at the project costs, if they have changed, if there are things that need to be moved in terms of schedule. So we look at the different systems that we have, streets, stormwater, wastewater, and so on, and we make adjustments there based on the most recent information we have. One of the major changes that we did this year to the document is we added a table for economic development projects. These are projects that don't necessarily fit into the grand scheme of system rehabilitation or fixing the system or anything like that. These are mainly to spur economic development in the community. And we thought, even though they may be small street projects or sewer projects, they are driven by economic development, and it's good to just list them as a separate table so that we know that the source was different. So the projects that are in that category are the enterprise area sewer. This is in the North Goldie Road area. There's a sewer extension that's required to spur some development over there. We have medical campus stormwater. This is the Dock Street stormwater. The capacity needs to be increased in order to accommodate some development opportunity over there. And then the SR20 and Facma Road property access. This is something, there's a property out as we come into the city that has been vacant for a long time. There are access issues because direct access onto SR20 is probably dangerous and it creates an issue. So that property has been slow to develop, with the city owning property north of there, and to spur economic development, we could provide an access road that will allow for those properties to have some form of development. So these are the projects that have come from an economic development source, and so therefore they have been listed separately. All of these are slated for grant money, and so if it's listed in there so that you can apply for grants, and they're hopefully will be successful, and if we are, then these projects will move forward. The critical area maps and the environmental element, the maps are being updated. As you remember, in the 2016 update, we reformatted the comprehensive plan. We did a major update. We're formatting all the maps to match the document, and also getting the latest information that the county, state, and federal sites have on that. This is not something that we went out and actually mapped on the ground. These are maps for references that we use. We use them for project planning and for development review. I'll give you an example, like geological sensitive areas. They are mapped. When we have project applications, we look at the map and we go, there's potential that your property may be impacted. We probably need a geological report to determine whether actually you are impacted, and if so, what are the ways, methodology that you could use to accommodate for that. We do that for city projects as well. If we do a street project, we'll look at those maps to see what kind of information we need to generate so that we're taking into account some of these resources. The economic development element, as I mentioned, since we created a table in the CIP to list the projects for economic development reasons, and they're going to be probably going for grant application. Usually grants are asking for some kind of statement in your comprehensive plan that shows that you have support for those projects. So we've included a policy in the economic development element to strengthen that connection between the CIP and the economic development projects. So a policy moving forward on that. So the adoption process, these, as I mentioned earlier, we start sending notices to the Department of Commerce at the state level and doing the SEPA analysis in September. So we introduced these items for discussion to the Planning Commission in September. The Planning Commission opened a public hearing in October. They closed the public hearing at their last meeting in November, made a recommendation to the City Council to adopt the proposed amendments. Here we are at City Council. We're recommending that the City Council open the public hearing, take public testimony if you have any, and continue the hearing to the 18th so that there's more chances to look at this. If we have any public comments, we'll take them, make adjustments. If the council has comments, we can take those, make those adjustments so that at the December 18th meeting, you can close the hearing and take action. So that's the amendments. Our municipal code has a criteria to evaluate the amendments, and those have been provided in the council packet as part of the Planning Commission report. We prepared those, and the Planning Commission report is attached to the council agenda bill. So we've evaluated those against the criteria. I won't go through them in detail. So we recommend opening the hearing, taking public testimony, and continuing it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, let's open the public hearing then at this time to see if we've got anyone from the public that would like to speak to this. Please come and do so now. Okay, I guess before we actually close that public hearing, I'll ask council if they've got input or questions. Like to, Councilor Omber?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Knack, excuse me. Who prepared the LOS, the ratings for these street intersection segments? A consultant or in-house?
It comes from our transportation plan, so the consultants probably prepared it.
Well, the only reason I asked that, and obviously I can't remember the past on every one of them, but one of the intersections that jumps out at me that's listed as a C is SR 20 and Scenic Heights, and we list it here as a C. You know, in the past, when we've gone through these, both when I was on the Planning Commission and early in the council, that was LOS D, and it was either D or E. It was the most degraded one of all of our street segments and intersections. And I'm kind of curious what improvements were made to that intersection that brought it up to a C.
We can check against the transportation plan to see why it changed, but these are level of services taken directly from the plan, so we can check on that. But if our engineers are here, maybe they can answer the question. If they know right top of their head, they can answer it. If not, we can bring back that information at the next meeting, because it's still a hearing.
I see our city engineer approaching, Mr. Joe Stoll.
Mayor, council members, you're asking about the level of service at Scenic Heights in 20.
Yes.
I don't have an answer off the cuff as to why that's changed from a level D to C. As far as I know, the intersections that were failing were like 7th, and Midway was one that was close to failing, and there might have been at 7th and SR 20.
There were a couple others that were down there, and you still have Midway and Whidbey Avenue as a D. But I remember specifically that one. It may even be a bit before your time too, Joel, because there was a lot of discussions about improving that by right in, right out only on timing, different time, like at peak times of the day. There was quite a bit of discussion on that to improve that intersection. And I'm quite certain it was either a really degraded D or an E.
You know, if you'd like, we can pull out the different plans and even call up the consultant, have a discussion with them and see what's changed from then to now. I wish I had an answer for you off the cuff, but I just don't today.
Would you mind just getting back to us on that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, kind of in that same realm, I'll give you a little sneak peek. The workshop in January, we have a representative from WashDOT is going to be coming to do a presentation on the Sharps Corner intersection, but I prepared her to talk about other items of interest in town while she was here. So that might be a good time to bring it up, and I'll have her prepped to help answer what improvements we might see in that area as well from the state's perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Questions? Well, we're still, yes, Councilor Heisen.
I think they raised their hands before I did.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Should that say December 19th, or is the 18th correct?
Oh, apologize. We'll change that. 19th.
Okay, I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
wasn't going nuts. And on page 162, table 4.8, general government projects listed. And I apologize for not bringing this up before in the more recent incarnations of this plan. But if I understand correctly, this is where we put basically our wish list of all the things that need to happen, and then that just carries over as long as it's in the plan for grant funding and keeping it on the horizon. General government, new fire station, new animal shelter. Why isn't a new city hall building on here? That's gonna have to happen before 2023, I think. So as long as we're doing the wish list, we don't necessarily have to change this, but maybe next year's, we need a city hall. And a number of other things, but as long as we're looking into the future and projecting, it would be nice if we could start adding practical things like that. And again, that doesn't necessarily have to happen this time, but if we're thinking it and it needs to be written down, then I'd like that to be considered.
We'll
That
make
is
a
all.
note of that. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Councilor Wassinger.
Yes. In the section about the, let me find it here, where you list Island Transit, the library, and North Whidbey Parks and Rec, so that would be our non-city areas. It seems maybe a little, maybe that wording, some of it needs to be updated. Like a lot of the user facts and numbers, it looks like are coming from 2013 in those sections. And I think that we could probably find some more current user information than 2013 for the section for the library and for Island Transit. And then the wording for the North Whidbey Parks and Rec seems a little bit maybe not what currently maybe if we were to ask their new commissioners and as they form their new board with their newly elected officials to get a more accurate statement of maybe what their goals are. I think a water slide and some of those improvements may be a little bit further out on the horizon for them at the moment. And then on the section for the parks, I'm sorry, I don't want to spend all my
Sorry,
time
Mayor.
scrolling through here.
What page are you on? What page?
Hang on, I'm looking for, okay, so the library and the North Whidbey, that's around page 154 in our packet, or page 13 of the draft plan, would be where the libraries are listed. And then you turn the page, it's North Whidbey Parks and Island Transit.
Thank you.
It would be page 155 of our packet, page 14 of the draft. I just think maybe a little bit more updated facts.
Absolutely.
User facts than 2013 would be good. And a more updated statement about the goals and capital goals of the North Whidbey Parks and Rec may be due for an update as well. Those are just my observations reading through those. If you turn to page 157 of our packet or 16 of the draft, I think there's an extra 0 added in under the soccer fields. One field per, I'm sure it's supposed to be 7,500. It just looks like there's an extra 0 at the end. And then I had a question for looking ahead for our Windjammer Park plan. Phase 5, of course, we all know includes, a new use for the ball fields. And I'm wondering where it's included to fund a space if we do want to follow through with that Phase 5 in the future. I know that is even beyond the 2023 horizon, but it is listed in the next section for the even further out for Phase 4 and 5. I see there's an open space near Park on page 163, 22 of the draft, open space park near Crosby and Oak Harbor for $4 million. Can you remind me what that space is or what that location? I don't recall.
That's so the park and recreation's open space plan. When an analysis was done for community parks, we drew a certain radius to cover Windjammer, Volunteer, and Fort Nugent are the 3 parks that has facilities. And so the northwest section doesn't have a circle. And so the park plan recommends finding the next big Fort Nugent park in that area, and that's what that $4 million is.
Okay. So I would like to see, along with Phase 5, you have for a future for 3.497 million. I can't imagine that that number includes a new park space and new land for 3 ball fields that are currently at Windjammer Park that would go in that Phase 5 plan. I would like to see in here a dollar amount, a plan in writing for that future space and construction of those fields, along with the Phase 5 estimate that we currently have. Thank you.
Yeah, I think technically that 4 million, the space by Crosby and Oak Harbor is supposed to accommodate whatever. I think the idea, if we look at the current Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan, it has an example of basically ball fields being accommodated in this new community park. So that's the idea. So with the Parks, Recreation, Open Space Plan moving forward, when it comes forward, I'm guessing that will still remain, and so that will hopefully tie into that Phase 5.
Thank you.
Councilor Servadius.
Thank you. Looking at page 130 in the packet, it's the minutes, or maybe it's not minutes, it's the packet for the Planning Commission. Under the background section, they talk about amendments that will continue into next year's cycle. And they name Parks and Rec and Open Space Plan, Economic Development Element, and Urban Growth Area Resizing. And then right below that, it says the comprehensive, that next paragraph on page 131, the comprehensive plan amendments that are moving forward to the City Council this year are, and it's the 3 that you talk about. So the urban growth area resizing, is that something we're keeping, that will be on the docket then in 2018, or what's happening with that?
So we'll have a discussion about that with the 2018 amendment cycle, whether to keep it on there or not.
Okay.
The county has already taken some action, so we'll have to kind of take that into consideration as we move a docket forward. So, so we'll be talking about that with the Planning Commission at their December and January meeting, and then we'll bring it forward to the council, hopefully in a workshop, either in January or February, to talk about that. So that's still yet to be decided on whether we want to keep it, take it out, or what we want to do with it. For right now, it's there.
And we had communicated, I don't know that it's in here, but when we had communicated about we've worked on it for a while now, the JPA expansion as well, how does that fall? Does that fall in here as well somewhere?
Yes, so that labeling urban growth area resizing is kind of misleading. It's the JPA, UGA amendments. So we know that the right annexation kind of dropped off the docket that was related to the UGA, so I think we can drop the UGA portion of it. But the JPA is still, for planning purposes, still under discussion. So there's and the county has moved that from their docket to the work plan, so we'll probably have some more work related to that. So that's the part we'll enter into discussion as we go into January and February.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no other questions, we will just continue this until the December 19th City Council meeting then.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, CAC. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, ordinances and resolutions. Our next one is ordinance number 1817, 1817, amending 1-hour parking zones established. I see our city engineer, Joe Stoll.
Mayor, council members, thank you for having me here. I just tricked our TV. So I got my, now he's not letting me do it. There we go. I was just teasing him. You guys are so used to me having PowerPoints, I had to mess with you a little bit. But this is a real easy agenda item, really. Some time ago, they wrote into our municipal code 1-hour limited parking from Mailer down to Regatta on Pioneer Way. It was likely done to mitigate some parking issues that were occurring with the college. They've since expanded their parking lot. It's not an issue anymore. We don't have any signs out there that say 1-hour parking, and it just seems like one of those things that we should just take out of the code to clean things up a bit. That's the short story. I don't have anything, maps or anything to show you, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
And the recommended action is to adopt ordinance 1870.
That is correct. Thank you.
Before we talk here at the council, I'm wondering if anybody from our public has any input. Anybody like to comment? Okay. Seeing none, council, questions, motions? Councilor Servadius.
I move to adopt ordinance 1817.
Second.
So we've got a motion by Councilor Servadius and a second by Councilor Munns to adopt ordinance 1817. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that was quick and easy. And our final item tonight is number 7B, Resolution 17-24, extension of timeline for the use of transportation impact fees. I see we have our Public Works Director, Kathy Rosen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So the city collects transportation impact fees from development activity to ensure that we have adequate transportation facilities to serve new growth and development. State law requires that these impact fees that we collect be expended or encumbered within 10 years of receipt unless there is an extraordinary and compelling reason to extend that timeline for the use, and we have to document that in writing by the governing body. We currently have $269,542.96 in transportation impact fees that were collected in 2007, so those are going to expire at the end of this year unless we take action to continue those. And we have $93,119 that were collected in 2008, which will expire at the end of 2018. We're recommending that the city use these funds for the construction of Northeast 7th Avenue Improvement Project. That project has been a high priority for the city for several years and has been on our 6-year TIP for the past several years as well. That project, at one time we did have some money, but we had some unforeseen circumstances come up on Pioneer Way. There was a change in governance from the Skagit Island RTPO to the Island RTPO. And so that project was delayed for the last few years. We've recently received a grant from the Island RTPO in the amount of $300,127. Of that, $57,927 is the city's required match. So Resolution 1724 before you provides the necessary written documentation required to extend the timeline for the use of transportation impact fees that were collected in 2007 and 2008, and staff is recommending that you adopt that resolution.
Okay, before council discusses that, I'd like to open it up for public comment or input. Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to council. Yes, Councilor Munns.
Thank you. We don't need a date to say we want to extend this 5 or 10 years. It's just that extenuating circumstances, we just need to extend it.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Good deal.
Will it be extended like for another 10 unless we use it? Or?
Well, we're hoping to have that project completed here in the next few years,
Okay.
so it
Okay.
shouldn't be an issue.
Councilor Olmberg?
Thank you, Mayor. Kathy, we had some issues with right-of-way along Northeast 7th. Have those been secured so that we can proceed with the improvements?
I don't believe those have been secured yet.
How close are we to getting those secured? Because we can't commit anything until we have those secured.
I'm going to let city engineer answer those questions.
Mayor, council members, you're worried, concerned about securing funds for acquisition of right-of-way on 7th? Is that correct?
My question was, has the right-of-way been secured?
No, it has not. That'll be a subsequent phase of the project. So the first phase is to do some preliminary engineering. Second phase would be to do right-of-way acquisition, and then final design, and then move on to construction.
Okay, so we've got $300,000 going on here that we're going to use for something for Northeast 7th. Okay? And a big chunk of that will no doubt go to engineering without having the right-of-way secured? Why aren't we getting the right-of-way secured before we go through the preliminary engineering?
Part of the preliminary engineering is to determine what right-of-way we need. So I know there's some portions of it that that are pretty obvious that we're going to need because it's kind of sawtooth where some of the sidewalk is in the right-of-way and some of it is not. But there's other areas where we may have to do stormwater improvements or treatment that are part of the project that we'll need additional right-of-way for.
So we have standard cross-sections for arterials. This is an arterial, correct? Or
Yeah.
is this a connector? It doesn't matter. We have standards for our design standards for sidewalks right away. Help me out why we have to go into major engineering to find out what we need for roadway width when we have a lot of these standards already codified.
You know, part of this is that we're getting the funding through WashDOT, through grant funding. We have to follow the lag manual.
Okay?
And they have a prescribed process where they authorize funding in steps.
Okay.
The first phase of that is to get preliminary engineering, and that it's basic, like 15 to 30% drawings, where you have a defined and approved by WashDOT design of that roadway. Once that's accomplished, then you use those documents to help you seek the right-of-ways, demonstrating the need for it. And then once you have that right-of-way secured, then you would move on to the final design documents, would be taking it from 30 to final. Then you have to get those approved by WashDOT before you can move on to construction, and they'll release those funds.
Okay.
And all this coordinates with the STIP funding that's approved.
Okay, I know we don't have a whole bunch of time to go through this, but I'm a little bit, tell me, are we going to be guaranteed that we will get the right-of-way?
That's a tough question to answer at this point. I mean, if there's a piece of right-of-way that's absolutely essential to the completion of the project, we'll have to consider that when we get there. I suppose there's the potential it could require condemnation if it was absolutely necessary to complete the project and make it a safe project. I don't know that. I don't know if we'll need that or not.
And WashDOT's not in a position to help fund part of that going forward after we get preliminary drawings?
That would be the right-of-way portion of phase of the project. So we'd get the preliminary engineering. That would lead us to the right-of-way acquisition.
And that project would potentially be a candidate for grant with matching?
It is actually, and it's been, I think the first part of it's been approved by the Council of Government. It's on the STIP, so we're queued up. Actually, I met with Harry Haslam with the state last Monday to discuss moving forward with it.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support this agenda bill extending the timeline for the use of the transportation impact fees, mainly because the funding will be used for the improvement of the 7th Avenue Northeast. The improvement of this road has been on the project for many, many years, and the time has come, although over $300,000, a small portion of funding to make that improvement, it will be a big help. So I fully support this agenda bill.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Servadius.
Just rough timelines. I know we've probably talked about this before. You say the next couple of years. Might we get some construction going in 2018?
Most likely not 2018. No,
Okay.
if we've got to go through preliminary engineering and then right-of-way acquisition, that will probably take up most of 2018.
All right, thanks.
City Administrator.
To kind of help answer that question, you might see a little bit, if you look at page 158 in your agenda packets on the CIP we were talking about a few moments ago, you'll see the 7th Avenue project in there starting in 2018 and being spread out over a 3-year period. So that's the target date right now, at least in our CIP.
Okay. Councilor Heisen.
I move to adopt Resolution 1724.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilor Heisen, a second by Councilor Munns to adopt Resolution 1724.
I have a,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had a question. We have to go through the process that you mentioned with WashDOT, or I'm sorry, that Engineer Stowell mentioned, the preliminary right-of-ways. It seems like there's a lot yet to do. Does this, by us approving this resolution, lock us into spending this expired money on this project if something were to happen? I mean, we're talking about roughly $340,000. I don't anticipate this, but you don't know until you know. Does this lock us in? Would we lose that $340,000 if we were to pass this and something happen and WashDOT fall through, or we don't meet the standards necessary?
I'm looking at
I'm
Dr.
trying to-
Merriman.
As far as the impact fees, it's not really correlated to like WSDOT being involved or anything like that. We would still go ahead with the project. We would just be looking for other funding sources and do that. We wouldn't be at risk of losing this unless we got to some point where we said, we're not doing 7th Avenue at all. And we're not at that point at all making that kind of a statement on that. So as long as we have that project on the books and we're dedicating these impact fees for that purpose, then everything works fine.
Okay, so these impact fees through this ordinance, this resolution, as long as we are using the money for, and it's not locking us into the 57,000 matching or what we need to put forward for the grant, if that grant were to fall through, we wouldn't be out that $57,000 portion of our match for that if we don't get to use it for that purpose.
No, we would not be out that money.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 1724. Any other? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And that is our last item. I thank you all for your work tonight and always. As a matter of fact, Mr. Servadius can get to his band concert on time at 7:30. And drive carefully. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Your band concert.
Ben's playing a trumpet.